Germany's education system is three-tier. You have elementary school in the beginning, then you have another three-tier system in the second stage, and then in the third stage, of course, you have a multiple of different variants, but if you just focus on institutional learning only, maybe on the higher educational side, then you have Germany's universities, which are subdivided into the universities and the universities of applied science, you could say. Elementary school is just basic, usually 4 years, and then in here we have a difference. This is where basically people separate from each other. The first thing you can do is continue elementary school, so to speak. This is now called Mittelschule, even though it's not in the middle. It's kind of a rebranding. Previously, these were called Hauptschulen, which stands for main schools. Then in the middle, we have the Realschulen, so real schools, you could say. And these are also formally called basically the middle schools. So you basically took an alternative name for the middle schools and applied it to the schools that previously had kind of a bad image, and therefore tried to rebrand these main schools, you could say, the Hauptschulen. In the middle then we have Realschulen. So if this here is 4, it's basically 4 years. Then after these 4 years, you can either go on this track, which are the Hauptschulen, and this would get you an additional 5 years, and then you would do a apprenticeship, for example, 2 or 3 years working at a bakery, and then you become a normal baker. You can then become a master baker usually by doing something like a master's school. The second option is to add an additional 6 years. So in total then 10 years at Realschule. There are also options to switch from this school to this school. Sometimes called M-Zweig or M-branch. With M-branch obviously being the literal translation of the German word. And then you have also the other schools, which are the high-tier schools, you could say. These are called Gymnasien, which is the same word as in English, gymnasium, but it has a different meaning in Germany and obviously also a slightly different pronunciation. So these schools last for, in total with elementary school, 12 years. These 10 years, these 9 years. People usually enter elementary school at an average of age 6, I would guess. And this results in people leaving these different schools at different stages of their life. So someone from main school, Hauptschule, might leave already at 16, 17, maybe 18 also. Someone here in the middle school, obviously a year older, and people leaving from here might leave university, not university, but for university, maybe, with 17, 18, 19, sometimes 20 years, because sometimes you also have people from here getting over to here. Sometimes you have people repeating levels, basically, and so you can also get to this level with these schools, starting out on these. Now, when it comes to universities in Germany, we have two different kinds of universities. And now, depending on which track you previously were on, you can get either to all of the universities with the Gymnasium. In the Gymnasium, you get the common Abitur, so the common A level. So it basically is the common access to all universities in Germany. And if you are just from here, you can still do an apprenticeship similar to the ones from the main schools. But what you also can do is a combination of those. So an apprenticeship, for example, with studying, which you can also obviously do if you have the higher tier, the Gymnasium, or what it is called, the actual certification is called the Abitur, the A level, you could say. So now, if you have the 10 years here, you cannot go to university yet, but what you can do is you can have an additional track which doesn't put you on the same level as people leaving the Gymnasien, but it puts you on a level where you can get the lower tier universities, basically. Of course, there is some discussion if these actually are the lower tier universities, but since they are more similar to school and the other ones are more on the free side where you can structure your time freely, I would say probably the actual universities in Germany, similar to English, so in English you call them uni, in Germany you call them also uni basically, as a short word. And these are basically the highest tier of universities in Germany. There's also the other tier, which might not be a lower tier, depending on how you see the whole situation. And this is university, but applied, you could say. Similar to American college and university situation, at least from my understanding. These universities, in short, are usually called FH. FH stands for FH, basically in English, and this means Fachhochschule. Fach is a dedicated subject, and Hochschule is the word that is used for both these universities and also these. So Hochschule means upper tier schools, basically. So school and Schule is, you basically realized it by now. Schule is the word for school, and hoch is the word for upper. So what you have then is the universities of applied sciences and the normal universities. Now, depending on what job and on what subject you're studying, you can also do this here with basically an apprenticeship. Also this here, in comparison to uni, sometimes have also practical semesters. This means for one semester you already work at a company. Some of the university programs also have similar programs, but this means that usually this year lasts half a year longer. So FH usually lasts a total of 7 semesters, whereas uni usually lasts only 6 semesters. Now, this is only true for the standardized study programs. In Europe, there was this revolution of study programs, and this divided now the study programs themselves into in total 3 different categories. These 2 categories are the bachelor, usually lasting for 6 semesters or 3 years, and the master program, usually lasting for 4 semesters, standardized, or more, or 2 years. So now, with these 2, these are basically the normal study programs you can get within the different universities and also universities for applied sciences. Can you switch between those 2? Usually you can switch from a university. So for example, you do a bachelor at a universities, let's say economics, let's say engineering, and switching then to a master's in the other one is usually easier, I would say, than the other way around, than reversed. Now, of course, there is also an additional program, which is the PhD. In German, it's called der Doktor. So similar to the medical doctor and also the doctor in English, it's just der Doktor. Or the title of the doctor in German, der Doktortitel. So the PhD in Germany lasts, I guess, different lengths. Probably usually adds at least 2, maybe 4, maybe 6 years to all of this. Sometimes included is obviously also teaching. So for the PhD, sometimes you might have to actually teach then at a university. So you might become a professor. Professor is basically just the same word as in English. And Professoren, so the plural, are the ones who teach at universities. But of course, there are also other people teaching at universities. For example, the people trying to do a PhD, which are called Doktoranden. So it's doctor and N. Doktoranden. In total, if you want to do an apprenticeship, enter elementary school, just like everybody else does. In elementary school, there is no separation. The separation only comes after year 4, where then you decide to which school you go. If you know what you want to do already, and it is an apprenticeship, then you just could go to the Hauptschule, or the now called Mittelschule. But of course, compared here, it might give you better chances at applying if you come from a Realschule. Because if a bank, for example, classical apprenticeship, has the option in between somebody who is from this school, also a year younger usually, and somebody from Realschule, then I guess this one has better chances compare this now to somebody from gymnasium, then I guess this one has better chances, even if the certification grade is not the same. So basically, these would have, because they are from the higher tier school, they maybe would not need as good of grades compared to these. So ideally, if you or your child is smart enough, you want to get kids into elementary school and then to gymnasium, which opens up everything about the German education system. If you send them then to Realschule, they only can even study if they do a 2-year or 3-year additional program, which then puts them not on the same level as people from here, because they can access all of the universities, but at least these can apply then for the universities for applied sciences, so the kind of lower tier universities, also colleges, you could say. And it depends, of course, on what you want to do and what your children might do, but of course nobody knows, and also times are changing. So therefore,